Hey, good evening, everybody. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts with you today. Um, this morning, I was thinking about good traditions and just some things I was thinking about. One of them came from one of my thoughts was for some reason I thought about the episode of Blackish that comes on, and on that particular show. Um, Bo Rainbow, we call her Rainbow, who's the wife. Her mother is black and her dad is white, and so his side of the family came over. I want to say I can't remember if it was Thanksgiving or whatever, but um, so uh, Dre, who is Bo's husband, his side of the family, they had cooked soul food, and then Bo's side of the family came with the different type of food, and one of the food was beets. And so the husband of one of, I don't know if it was Bo's sister, Bo's aunt, or maybe his dad's niece. I'm not sure, but anyway, um, they were talking about why black people eat like a lot of soul food, and Dre brought up the point that with slaves, it's like they were given the leftovers, so they had to do what they could to make the food taste good. So with the chitlins, which I don't like chitlins, but like chitlins and collard greens and a lot of the food that um, black people eat, like fried food, because they had to make do. They had to make the food taste good because, again, they were given the scraps. Um, and that's where the soul food came from. Uh, and Bo's mother um, scolded her for fixing Dre's plate. She's like, let him fix his own food. And I think it was Dre's grandmother who said, well, the reason why she fixed her husband his food because he went out into the world, working all day, and he was treated less than a man. So his home was the one place he could feel like he was king of his castle. So she fixed his plate to serve him, to make him feel good about himself because he had been out. And, of course, in society, black men were called like boy, and even by white kids, they had to call them Mr. or, they were called boy, a grown man. So the reason why I'm bringing all of this out, and none of this is probably making sense. I know I'm kind of going back and forth here, but the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because every family have traditions, and I'm going back to what Pastor Creflo was teaching. It's not black race, white race. That was all conspired to make one race feel superior, and it's the human race, but let's say white skinned people to feel superior to black or brown skinned people. That's where all this came from. So um, I have lost my train of thought. But anyway, I want to talk about this because within, whether you're brown skin, white skin, dark skin, whatever, there are good traditions and bad traditions among people of all skin tones, of all pigmentations, okay? It doesn't matter. And even with different cultures, everybody have different traditions, and not all of our traditions are really good for us, but we just follow those traditions. Um, Even brown skinned people, like I know other black people who were not raised like I was raised. So you can't expect someone to be a certain way if that's all they know. For example, we always talk about the, like, oh, you were raised on this side of the track. So for instance, where I'm from, the north side of town was considered the ghetto side. Okay, and I was raised on the north side of town. However, I never saw it as ghetto because everyone in that area, we came up, um, everybody looked out for each other. And yes, there were projects in the area, but there were families, people, good, strong working families in the area. And then as the years went by, people um, who were educated and um, were hardworking people, as the Jefferson stage, they moved on up um, to another side of town. But my parents, they could have done that, but my parents actually built another home in the area that we grew up in. They could have moved to the south side of town, but I'm glad they didn't. The south side of town floods. The north side of town doesn't, and I'm sure if people had it their way, they would want to come back and take over the north side of town. The north side of town was predominantly white, and then when blacks started moving in, then the white people moved out, which this happens everywhere, and in different cities that were predominantly white. When other families start moving in that were non-white, they didn't like that, and they moved out. And so here we are. But I'm saying all that to say this: there are um, black people, black pigmentation, brown pigmentation, whatever you want to call it, but they were not raised how I was raised. I mean, I always assumed that everybody went on vacations every year because my parents, we went on vacation every year. We had family Sunday was our family day where my parents would take us to the beach and we'd go and get some Borden's ice cream and get us some Lay's potato chips. That was our way. Our family was close knit and we did family things together, but not everybody had that privilege. And as a kid, you just assume everybody did that, but as I became an adult, it's like, oh my God, and I kind of felt bad because some people, all they knew was a hustle or robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. So if that's how someone came up, if that's all they saw in their household was that they were always behind on bills, or the only time they really had a good meal was on Sundays, because that's how my parents came up. Sunday was a big thing for a lot of black families because that was the day that they get to eat meat. They didn't have meat every day. So it's so many things that we don't know about each other as the human race. And until we began to talk and understand one another, um, things will never change. For instance, uh, I'm just trying to think of examples. I went to a predominantly black school, so when I went to college, it was people from different backgrounds and more white people than black people. But I only went to an interracial school basically in my elementary years, and then junior high and high school, it was predominantly black. So once you get out in the world, it's like, oh wow, this is different, and you think, oh wow, well, they're way ahead of us, and that's really how it is in life. White people have more privileges than black people. You hear it all of the time, and someone of white pigmentation will never understand the struggles of someone of black or brown pigmentation because they don't have to deal with those issues. Um, but even beyond all that is no matter whether you're brown skin, white skin, whatever, every family have issues. Every family have good traditions. Every family have bad traditions. There are good and bad spirits among the human race. And we just have to learn how to work together and to love one another. Because when I was thinking this morning, it's like, wow, it's so many people that just don't understand, you know, that we all, even though we're from different backgrounds, there's so much common just because we are human that we're going to deal with. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. Everyone is going to deal with death. Everyone deals with somebody being close to them, or even themselves having sickness, somebody going through with finances. Every human have some kind of problem that's common among one another. And we need to understand that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, spiritual wickedness, rulers of darkness, and high places. Until the human race understand that, we will always be, and I know it will never be, it's going to always be racism, because that spirit is prevalent and is being passed down from generation to generation. So unless someone is born again and change those traditions and ways of thinking, it's never going to be rectified. So again, I'm just sharing thoughts, talking today. I thought about even when I go, when we go witnessing, and that was one of my things. I miss going door to door witnessing. That's one of my things that I always share with the evangelistic group. I'm like, why do we always, just go to low income areas? I mean, everybody needs Jesus, but that's a tradition to me when it comes to witnessing. It's like every time we go, it's in low income areas, in low income apartments, hood. I'm like, no, we need to go to the country club. We need to go to this side of town, because everyone needs Jesus. And even when witnessing, it's like we can witness and witness. Some people will get it, some people won't. But think about it. If people have always lived on government assistance, it's going to be hard to break through that. So even though I'm brown skinned and that person is brown skinned, we still are two different people, because I was not raised up that way to think, okay, this is the best things are going to be. It's like people get used to this. This is all they know. If they grew up in an environment where all they saw was somebody doing drugs, that's all they know. That's something that is going to take the blood of Jesus for them to break through and be delivered from a lifestyle with all they know. If you have women, all they know is selling their bodies to make it. That's all they know, and thinking that that's the only way, a man will accept you if you give up your body to him. It's just so many things that just came across my mind, that's a lot of women think that way. They use their womanly ways again to get what they want, or have somebody take care of them. So they'll reduce themselves to nothing, sell themselves short. Like they say, why buy the cow if you can get the milk free? So many women just selling themselves short, allowing themselves to their bodies to be used, and they willingly do it to be accepted by a man, or to get what they want from a man. And then men do the same thing. They'll use whatever their ways to seduce a woman as well, or hey, what you gonna do for me if I take care of you and pay your bills? So it's just so many different things. Again, it's not a brown thing, a white thing. It's the human race thing, where people just hustling, playing games, or they'll even when it comes to climbing the corporate ladder, people will do whatever it takes, if it means sleeping with your boss to get to the top. It's just so many things people are doing, traditions that they do. Uh, hey, if this is what it takes for me to advance on my job, I'll do it. They're willing to sell their souls to the devil just to get what they want. And again, this is not, doesn't have anything to do with anybody's color. This is a human race problem. But until people can be transformed by the renewing of their mind, again, whatever their surroundings are, traditions that were passed down, that's what they are used to. Like I say, I can look back in my upbringing. Not everything, my parents did the best that they knew how, but they didn't do everything right. But again, I still thank God and believe that I have the best parents in the world. I felt like I had the best dad in the world. Miss him dearly. Like I said, he passed away earlier this year. But I felt like I had the best dad in the world, and I have the best mom in the world. I thank God so much for my parents, for all that they sacrificed. Um, but it's just so much more to life, and we make life about ourselves, and we just constantly keep doing things the same way. Um, this is what the way I was taught, or this is the way my parents did it, or this is the way my grandparents did it, and so people keep those traditions going. If they're bad traditions, you need to cut it off. So when it comes like to racism, because that spirit of superiority, you think you're better because you are white skinned, and it's like you think you're smarter, but that is not true. That is not the case. So it's just so many things. And then for brown skin, we think we're not as good because that's the way we came up in um, in this country. That's just the way it is. But I know better. I know that no one is superior to me. I know who I am and who I belong to. But again, it's just the way of thinking, just conniving and deceitfulness. People like, okay, well, I'm gonna rob Peter to pay Paul when it comes to finances. But it's like we've had to. When I say we, as a brown skinned person, have to actually prove ourselves 3 and 4 times more. And a white person, this doesn't register to them because they never had to deal with what we as brown black people deal with. And again, it goes back to that spirit of superiority. It's that spirit of division in the human race that the devil successfully is able to use mankind. When you yield yourself as an instrument of Satan, this is what happens. So there's just constant division going on in the human race, and people will not change unless they are willing to change and acknowledge, where, because we've all fallen short of the glory of God. We've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So until we can get in that place where God would have us to be, and let our mind be transformed. Let our mind be transformed, and stop following traditions of man. If they're good traditions, hold on to the good traditions, okay? But bad traditions need to get away from those things. And that was just a way of life, with black people. Had it not been for government assistance, because our black people worked very hard, and white people did not pay them. It was free labor for them. And see, again, it's just some things nobody wants to talk about. So here we go, with tradition. It's so many things that are not right in this country when it comes to education, when it comes to finances. Everyone wants to have their own home. But when it comes to black people, we have to deal with, we're treated so much different than white people. And again, you know, as a white person, you have to acknowledge those things. And it's not that you're trying to, as a black person, trying to have a pity party thing, but just for our white counterparts to understand that no, this is not a equal. Um, there's no equality there when it comes to that. The play, we're not at the same level. It's not a fair play, even with the justice system. A black person could do something real minor and have to serve so much time, and then you see time after time again, a white person with the same crime just get a slap on the hand. So it's just so many things that that we see. And again, it's not to try to hate or anything, but people just need to get on and understand, and need to talk about these things and be transparent with each other. And again, even as a black person, uh, just because I'm black doesn't mean I understand other black people. Everybody has come from different backgrounds. So all black people are not the same. All white people are not the same. Everybody have been raised differently. Um, it's just so many different things, just in general with the human race. So I know this probably sounds confusing, but I hope you all understand what I'm trying to convey here. Um, but again, I was just thinking a lot about when we would go witnessing. It's like people want to do good, but because they have so much that they're dealing with, they're not going to hear what you have to say to them when it comes to God. And if you see there's a need, even the Word of God said, if you see somebody that's hungry, needs to be clothed, you don't tell them Godspeed when you see there's a need there. If they need food to eat, nobody's trying to hear you if they're hungry. Nobody's trying to hear you if they don't have anywhere to stay. Um, so again, I get it with a lot of people have come up with government assistance. I don't know what that is. I can't identify with that. I can uh, be compassionate about it and sympathize. But okay, so just because you came up on the system doesn't mean you have to stay on the system. Use it as a stepping stone. But there's so many people who are angry out there, and then I have to understand it's like why they're angry. So it's just different things I'm thinking about. So many people are hurting. So many people didn't have the things that I had coming up. I had both of my parents in the household, thank God. Didn't have to worry about uh, where we're going to stay the next day. We had clothes on our back. Our clothes were clean. Some people, don't have good hygiene because of how they came up. I remember my husband told me when he went to boot camp, this one young man, I can't remember if he was black or white. I want to say it was a white guy, and he was washing his clothes with Ajax. So, you just don't know how people came up, and there were probably a lot of people in the house, and they probably all had to share like one bedroom. See, things that I can't even imagine because I didn't come up that way. So, even though, I'm black and that other person is black, that doesn't mean I understand everything that they're going through. Same thing for two white people who came up with two different backgrounds. Just because they're both white doesn't mean they understand each other. And that's what we have to, come to acknowledge and understand as well. Um, Us having the same pigmentation of another person doesn't mean anything because we don't know what that person went through or what, how they came up with their background is. Uh, I think I remember Pastor T.D. Jakes mentioned, with spaghetti, when they ate spaghetti, they didn't have spaghetti sauce, so they used ketchup. I don't even know what that is, but that's a good example of what I'm trying to convey. You know, it's just so many things that we just are clueless about, not knowing what people go through or how they came up. And that's why then when people get together from different backgrounds in marriage, it's like, oh my God, is this is not how I'm used to doing things. And, everybody have different ways of doing things. So we just have to learn how to work together and love one another and get rid of those bad traditions and keep the good traditions and do what God's word says to love. Oh, no man, nothing but love. We have to love one another and help one another and esteem others better than ourselves. So again, just sharing some things that was on my mind this morning. about how we look at life, that just because people are the same, have the same skin pigmentation, doesn't mean they understand each other, are meant to be together. It's the human race. And we just have to learn how to work together and actually edify one another, and teach people. When you see something, share what you know. And that's all. I was just, like I said, sharing some thoughts with you all today.